This podcast is brought to you by Giant Food. And today, more than ever, they are committed to you because we are all in this together so we can continue to share the little things that matter.
Recorded live from the lobby of the Line Hotel in Adams Morgan, Washington, D.C. Full Service Radio is proudly supported and hosted by Simplecast, the easiest way for a podcast creator to publish and distribute audio on the internet. For more information, visit simplecast.com.
Peace, everyone, and welcome to the Edible Activist Podcast. I'm your host, Melissa L. Jones, broadcasting live from the lobby of the Line, D.C. This podcast is where dynamic people of color in the food and agriculture space share their personal food journeys, passions, and perspectives that stem from the land, all exemplifying the spirit of activism in their own edible way. Let's get started. And welcome to the Edible Activist Podcast. I'm your host, Melissa L. Jones, broadcasting here on Full Service Radio. So y'all remember Chris Riddick of AFRO Beets, right? Podcaster and urban gardener, bringing you all the garden-to-table content online into your inboxes. He's also taken over my Edible Activist podcast before as well. I was able to catch up with him and see what he's been up to during #Rona. Y'all know he's always creating growing hacks for small spaces and amazing food dishes. Well, tune into this episode to hear about his latest garden container project, what he's been whipping up in the kitchen, vegan style. He also throws us some laughs on how to keep that COVID-19 weight gain down. That's probably for me. And then he lends us some words of encouragement during these unprecedented times. Tune in.
I've been huge on recycling what I have, because every time you go out there and go to the grocery store, you're putting yourself at risk. It's really a blessing when you can actually go out and, get the stuff you need, but you don't want to take advantage of that too many times. So I'm really repurposing what I have. Some of my favorite things I'm repurposing are the, the mixed nut containers that you get at some of your Whole Foods or Moms or things like that, just like snacking nuts. I'm converting the bottom of those and using them as kind of germination domes for cups, basically. So instead of buying those 4-inch containers where you grow your peppers and eggplants, things like that, I'm using cups and just kind of double layering it. One has holes in it and the other one is for kind of catching the water. And then on top of that, I'm placing those mixed nut containers to kind of germinate those seeds. Because, peppers and eggplants don't grow very well in the seed trays, but they grow pretty well in the 4-inch pots if you start them off there.
That is so neat. That's a tip. That is so freaking neat. Okay. I look forward to seeing more of that journey. Thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah. If you go on my Instagram, AFRO_beets, you can check out. I did a little quote unquote germination station tour and just showing all the different things I'm recycling in order to germinate my seeds. Another one that was actually really popular was the strawberry or berry containers. Those can just be used to germinate seeds in general. You can just put soil in those. A lot of the strawberry seed trays actually already have holes on the bottom of it. And then some of the tops don't have holes in it. So you just put the top, you cut it in half and then put the top underneath, and that will catch your water. And so that's an instant seed tray right there.
Wow. Well, Chris, I've said this before. I was talking in interviews with a few other people prior to this over the last couple of weeks. And, at one point you go into the store and guess what's not on the shelves? Seeds.
Oh, my God. Just talking about some of that yesterday. Everybody's having trouble finding them seeds.
Blew my mind. I mean, not a one at all. I mean, finally, they actually, I was at Mom's and they had restocked, but I mean, it just totally blew my mind. And even sometimes a lot of the times they keep their shelves of their plants and everything outside. I mean, and the soil and everything was just gone like mad. And I was just like, this is unbelievable, but this is so great at the same time.
Yes. People are starting to finally get it and click. Like, I've been talking to, because people were asking me yesterday, someone was in my DM yesterday, they're like, do you know where I can get some heirloom seeds? Like, nobody knows. Like, and those are like the really good ones, because you can, keep harvesting the seeds from them. They're not, GMO. And so I've just been talking to gardener friends and being like, yo, where are all the seeds at? And they're like, I don't know, but I'm good because we like collect seeds all the time. Like, we're always sending each other seeds, through the mail. Like, I have so many seeds from people who just like gift it to me. And that's the great thing about like building a community in your space, is that you can share resources and kind of barter for different things. And so, I have people sending me seeds from, all over the country. And then, I just, any seeds I see, I use, and I'm like, oh, that looks interesting. I would like to grow that one day. I'll just grab it. And now I have like, I don't even know. I have at least 20, 30, 40 different types of seeds. I just keep them in a box, and I've just been collecting them over time. And
you know what? I saw that. I was going to ask you too, because when I was looking at one of your videos yesterday, I was just like, is that a box? I don't think I had my sound on, and I'm sure you said these were your seeds. I was like, I'm assuming these are Chris's box of seeds. But that is what were those seeds in that box?
Yes. So wow. I have it actually in front of me right now. It's a novelty recipe box. It's like old school. I think it was made in 1963. And it used to, back in the day before like the internet and everything, like people used to keep recipes on their cards, like these index cards, and like put them in these boxes basically. So it was originally like a recipe box, and I converted it into like a seed box. And so what I did was I took index cards and put the little tabs on top of them and separate them, based off of the type of groups. Like I have flowers, I have flowering vegetables, I have leafy greens, fruit vegetables, things like that. And then I just make sure they're sealed and then kind of put them on their side. And then I can find them when I need them and just take care of your seeds. I was talking about germination the other day, and why some people are having problems with germination is because sometimes you're not taking care of your seeds. You need to keep them in a dark place. You need to keep them sealed so they're not overexposed, and just take care of your stuff, because you'll never know when you have a situation like this.
And that idea of the recipe box, that's so dope. It actually reminds me, I was on the phone with my big mom last week, and I think it was last Friday, and we were talking about, I was telling her how I wanted to create like this family recipe book, and still like super inspired by Crystal Mack's like most recent piece that she did with the e-guide. And I'd have been thinking about this for quite some time for like future family reunions. And I was talking to her, and I was just like, Big Mom was just like, we need to make sure that we have all, because my grandmother is a cook, she's a baker, but she's, she's, Southerner, like the recipes are just kind of like, there are no measurements, right? And so it's just like, where are these recipes? And she was just like, they're in a box. They're somewhere in the house, and they're in a box. And I think that same method, like she has them written on cards and they're in a box. And I wonder, like, when she gifts that, once she finds it and when she gifts it, maybe I can turn that into a seed box. That would be
absolutely. Cool. It kind of, that just jarred my memory of a recent podcast you had. I can't remember who specifically you're interviewing, but we were talking about lineage and like family history, and talking about, if you should know any history, you should know your own family history.
Jeff Edwards. Edwards. Jeff man. Edwards.
That's the man right there. And I thought that was so powerful, because it's not just, where your family came from. It's also the foods you ate. It's also the seeds you collect. I think I was talking to Xavier Brown one time. We were like in a meeting or something, and he was talking about how these specific shoots of sweet potato creates a certain flavor for a sweet potato pie that this family had, and they've just been passing it on through generations. And so your seeds, they tell stories, and especially with times like this, if you can tell a story behind the seeds and create an importance behind that, it will connect people back to the land even more.
Ooh, yes. So beautiful. So beautiful. Well, Chris, I know you're like me, right? And we talk a lot about, food and food, insecurity and food justice. and the list goes on. But also, we talk about the business side as well. And you and we've had so many dope conversations about how do
Mm-hmm.
we, continue to build our brand and to push these messages out. I mean, down to the nitty gritty of like what equipment to use. We were just talking about
Right.
headphones before this, right? We were
Exactly.
just talking about streaming platforms to just get our message across. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, I mean, we thought content was crazy before all this hit. It's even more crazier. It's even more crazier. And, just continuing to build a brand during these times, but also not overburdening ourselves, because we can totally get caught up and, what message should I push and, how we should do this and how we should do that, especially in this virtual capacity. But I definitely just want to, just touch on like how has the COVID-19 and the climate and the pandemic, whatever it's a whole mixture of everything, right? Like, how has this made you, if at all, like rethink how you're approaching, sending out your message to the masses and building your brand, because there is a new normal, and it was one thing for our airwaves and our channels to be filled with content, and a lot of that content not great content, and a lot of that content not backed by truth. But how has that positioned you to just really rethink how to build your brand and really to continue to push these narratives and these stories out at all?
Yeah, I think in the times we're in now, it's super important to make sure we're not tone deaf and realize the situation around us, really focusing on how we can serve others first, not think of like, what can people do for me? We need to help each other in this moment in time. And so with my brand and the content I'm putting out these days, it's really about listening and to what people need. So I'm going into, Facebook groups and, Instagram comments and like really listening to my audience. And, they're asking me, like the lady the other day was like, where can I get some seeds? I didn't know necessarily what to get the seeds because I've been gifted seeds and I've just been collecting seeds over time, but I know 5, 6, 7, 10 farmers that might know. And they just like a community grabbed on and sent me a bunch of information. Melissa, I send her probably like 12 to 15 different seed companies from just all over the place. And so it's just really a blessing to have that network. More than ever, it's important to collab with people as well. There's a lot of people that, we typically might not collaborate, but because we're doing some of the similar work and trying to have the same impact in our communities, that has been super important and super beneficial to both sides.
Well, I have to do a shameless plug because if anybody's looking for seeds, I linked up with the homie Rondell of Rooted and Sustains some weeks ago, and he hooked me up with some seeds. Okay, okra, pole bean,
Mm-hmm.
a ton, cucumbers. I got seedlings from him as well. So just a little plug if anybody wants to know. Rooted and Sustained on social media. I had to put that plug in, and he's a brother. So no, that's dope. That's really dope. And that's very just a great way to just be intentional about that. And you've always been intentional about your content, Chris, in a very like innovative and just, humorous way, and just making this all fun, for us all and easy to digest. And the biggest thing is that I think what I'm seeing is folks are getting caught up on, how many times to have a IG live, or, how many times to have this Zoom, and those platforms are all great, but if they're not providing, and it's also going to be dependent on the mission of your platform, but
Right.
it really also just needs to be like content that is authentic and has solutions, and just really continues to shine on the real narratives of of our stories, of our past, our ancestors' stories. And again, just really, content is king, but like authentic content, content that is truly feeding people. Like,
Right.
are you being fed? So
Exactly.
that's so key. That's so key. All right, guys, we're gonna take a really short break and we'll be right back.
You're listening to Perfect Day, produced by Artists Authentic. For more of Authentic's work, visit allornothingstudios.com.
This podcast is brought to you by Giant Food. Whether you are concerned about diabetes, heart health, losing weight, or just want to improve family meal times, Giant has a team of nutritionists ready to help you make the best decisions to meet your health and wellness goals. You can check out their personalized consultations online or by phone. Just go to giantfood.com/nutrition, or they have nutritionists who are available to answer any of your questions at nutrition@giantfood.com. Okay, Chris, can we talk about this COVID-19 weight gain? Because it's real.
That's real. That's real.
It is real. It is so real. I just, over the weekend, I picked up a 5-day cleanse because it was getting ridiculous, right? It was getting really real. And for those, my friends laugh at me because they're like, Melissa, you eat healthy all the time. And I'm just like, okay, whatever. But I got hooked to Mom's like whole wheat bread, fresh whole wheat bread not too long ago for my vegan cheese melts, and addictive. I can't eat bread every single day, right? Love Beyond sausages and patties. I can't eat those every day. It was getting real dangerous. And I'm like, this is really real. So we're just going to throw some fun on this conversation because, we've talked about this before, right? Like just because you're vegan or plant-based doesn't necessarily mean that it's the healthy way to go. Not the healthy way to go, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's healthy eating because there are carbs and there's soy.
Right.
And especially depending on like the source of your plant-based food. So I'm just over here not trying to gain an additional 20 pounds. Can you help a sister out, Chris? Please.
Yeah. It's definitely a struggle. I love all of those things too. Like, I'm not perfect in no sense of the word, but with things like, things we love, like the sweets, the Beyond Meat, things like that, I actually intentionally make room to eat those things. Like, for example, like I love like baking bread these days. And so if I'm going to have bread, like I know I'm going to have to go through the process of baking it. So when I have to bake it, the same thing with sweets like cookies and things like that. If I know I have to like put in the work to actually make it from scratch, that helps me limit my access to that because I know it's going to take some work. But once I do bake it and it's good, like I enjoy it and I don't feel guilty about it because I put in the work and I know I'm not going to be baking every day. So first of all, just make room for those things. Like you do deserve it. Like it's stressful out here sometimes. Do make room for those things. Other than that, I would say, stick to your whole foods. It's a little bit of a tough time sometimes for vegans who tend to eat more whole foods during this time. So for example, like I'm not eating as nearly as many salads as I used to eat. Just because you can only really keep fresh salad greens for about a week before they start to go bad. And so I'm really trying to like grow some things so I have a constant supply of greens. So salad greens, mustard greens, things like that. Those will go a long way if you're actually trying to grow it. Let me see what else. There's also, like just freeze specific things like your veggies that get bad quickly. If you do buy like a bunch of greens at one time, take one and make a salad out of it and then take the other and, just freeze it and you can saute it. And so my strategy has just been basically one, I don't typically go down the produce, the middle aisles. They have the saying like shop the edges, which means
I
if
didn't know about that rule, but thank you.
they shop the edges in the stores, like that's where your fresh fruits, produce is going to be. The only reason I really go down the middle aisles if I'm getting something like maybe like a pasta or grains or beans, legumes, things like that. But other than that, like even in some of like the stores like Mom's and Trader Joe's, they don't even put those in the center aisle. They put those around the edges. So yeah, the only thing you should be getting is your whole foods, and just avoid those processed foods because it's going to feel good going in at first, but once it comes out the other end, not like I cannot eat Oreos, yo. Like Oreos tear me up. I love Oreos, but I can't eat them. I'm sorry if that was too much information, but
I appreciate your transparency. I am in real tears over here, man. I swear. Sorry, guys. Chris, you are so funny. So this is why I love Chris. This is why I love Chris. So you know what? That's hilarious. Just shop the edges, because let me tell you what Melly Mel does. Oh, I start at the edge. The first thing I hit is the produce section, right? And right. I just creep. I might, stop at the spice section because I just love, bagging up my spices. And then I'll skip the first two aisles. No, the first two aisles. And then if I need to go into the health and wellness section, pick up some oils. But then guess what? I'm going down the chip aisle. And guess what? I'm buying 2 bags of the Bean brand of the lime jalapeno
I know them well.
Which are an addiction. Okay. And then I'm going to the freezer aisle. I don't really buy frozen vegetables. I just like buying fresh vegetables because I'm grabbing ice cream, vegan ice cream. So that's how it works out. But then I'm also grabbing a kombucha, possibly, Right. So, okay, shop the edges.
Go down somehow.
That is so funny. That is hilarious. Wow, because it's real. And another shameless plug, because I got to shout out everybody's juice. That's actually what I'm doing, the cleansing I'm doing right now. And I will tell you, I feel amazing. I feel light. I feel very just like magnetic. And my vibrations are just high, like they really are, because it's just all just wonderful, organic, like just refreshing, like juice. And my cells needed it. I'm telling you, my cells needed it. And I was talking to my best friend the other day, and she was like, I can't do this, Melissa. I said, we got to. She got the 3. She's like, I can't do this. And I'm like, I know that you may not be enjoying it right now, because also her mom is a cook and she's here, in the midst of all this for the time being. And she was just like, I just can't come to my mom's house. And I was just like, that's also the other key to it. Like being in the house with food, like the snacks and stuff, like it's hard. It's almost like you have to rid that stuff and then do your cleanse, because it's just a reality. Like if it's there, you're going to eat it. But I told her, I was just like, your cells need it. Just think about your insides. I was like, they are loving this right now. Like they are so needing this right now, a refresh. So, I appreciate that tip, and sorry about the Oreos.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Maybe I'll have to figure out how to make my own one day. But
oh my gosh! And when you do, can I be the first? I'll be the taste tester. I'll go first.
For sure.
I'll wear a mask.
Yeah, I think another thing is like we have to get back to basic cooking skills. I think where a lot of people get in trouble is that they don't know what to cook and they don't know how to use what they have. They see, something like a sweet potato and, a few ingredients, and they're like, what do I do with this? Besides make sweet potato fries. You know what I mean?
That is true. That is true.
Yeah.
And I was also looking at your post, I think it was a couple days ago. Again, I don't know my days at this point. And you had talked about, because obviously like vegetables and stuff, some of them can go bad like really quickly, and just really utilizing what you have in your refrigerator. And I swear to you, Chris, and I think you'll agree, some of my best meals have been the ones where you just have all this stuff in the refrigerator that's just been sitting there and you throw everything in the pot and you throw some
Mhm.
seasonings on it, and it's like Viola. I remember there was some potatoes that had been lingering in the refrigerator for quite some time. I had a yellow pepper, I had some onions, and it was something else. And I think I just literally just cut everything up. I had some broccoli. I massaged some Greek olive oil that I got from a friend, some seasoning, some thyme, some stuff that I had from Relish Market. Put those babies, and I put them in the oven, roasted it. Boom, the
Mhm.
best. The best, just leftovers from the fridge, and just concocting it up. So, and just a very just clean, plant-based meal, and I didn't feel guilty about it at all.
That's the way to do it. Yeah, I totally agree. The best meals are the one is like, okay, this is what I have. What can I make from this? Like yesterday, I think I posted a sweet potato soup recipe, and
That's what I was referring to, and
yes,
I
it
drooled.
was yesterday, Melissa. It wasn't 2 days ago. It was yesterday. It's
See,
okay.
I don't know my days. I told y'all. I don't know my days. Okay, proceed.
But anyway, all right. So I made this amazing sweet potato soup. Right, it was like right. It was a couple days before I was going to make my next big shopping trip, but I didn't want to go then because I didn't have my list together. And so I took the sweet potato and I was like, "What can I make this?" And I basically made a soup with like mushrooms and a bunch of like spices and seasoning because that's like all I had. And so I made a base with the mushroom to make this like thick sauce in the pan and really like reduced it to make like this nice pan sauce. I roasted my sweet potatoes, put everything in a blender, got it real nice and smooth. And then I noticed like I had my potato skins left and I was like, okay, like I don't want to waste this. Like when you're coming from like a gardener standpoint, like it takes so much energy and life to like produce what you're growing that you don't want to waste any bit of the food. So if you can use it, you try to use it. So what I did was I chopped up that potato skin. I threw it in the oven for like 10 more minutes after I roasted the potato. And then I crisped it up and like just crumbled it in my hands and made little sweet potato bits, put a little salt, little, oil on it. And I'm telling you, like this soup is like one of the best soups I've ever made.
Okay, that was yesterday, right? And
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah,
realize what you were, sprinkling over the soup.
yeah.
I was like,
Hmm.
what is that? And I was also
Yeah.
over here like, look at Chris, thinking like he a little chef. I did call myself that because I said, look at him sprinkling them little things across his soup.
Yeah, it
Like,
looks like
yes,
bacon
chef.
bits. Yeah, it looks like bacon bits. It's really good. A little parsley, a couple of peanuts on there. Yeah, and you just
So
whip it up.
clever. So clever.
Hmm.
So clever. Well, thank you so much, Chris. I appreciate that. I always look forward to what you have going on over in Afro Beats and the things um, that you dish up, and again, just amazing. Just your work is just amazing. So before we close out, definitely just want to just have you give us just some words of encouragement for our listeners. Again, I'm still in this space where I just want to operate in joy, giving our surroundings.
Hmm.
And again, I do realize that, there are folks who are good, they're well, and there are folks who are not. And just, also just giving encouragement to those who are actually, if they're working on things, if they're building projects, if they're creating, if they're tapping into their culinary, spirit, if they're tapping into like a garden project, if they're tapping into, I don't know, a book or just something, just words of encouragement so that people, can just create. Like this is the time to tap into that if you want, but also don't feel forced to, because it's also maybe a time for people to rest and not do anything.
Absolutely.
So, if you just have any words of encouragement, in that respect, like please
Hmm.
feel free.
Sure. Two books I want to shout out that I'm really into these days is there's a book called the Vegetable Container Garden Bible. And that has been like super helpful to use as a resource. It teaches you how to make self-watering containers and pretty much turn anything you want into a container. So that's been helpful. The second book resource I like is it's called, Troll and Error. And that is a book that teaches you how to just navigate a garden with what you have. It teaches you how to make different pesticides with some of the stuff you like cook with. And it's just a crazy book. But as far as words of encouragement, like honestly, I can't speak to everybody because I don't know everybody's situation, but this may be one of the best opportunities to really reflect and do what you want to do. That you have the time, more time than we've ever had before. Like reconnect with people, start a garden, get to those projects that you've been putting off a long time. Like, your spirit has a way of telling you what you need to do. You just need to stay still enough to kind of listen to that and figure out, what's the resistance behind that, because we have a lot of time. That's scary to some people to have all this free time. It's because they're not rooted in what they're supposed to be doing. So take that time, root into what you're supposed to be doing, and really go out and just excel. Because once we come out of this, the people who have really been putting in the work during these times and building those relationships and hitting those projects, they're going to come out with this new light, this new hope, and just this new fire and gift that they're going to give to the world. So definitely try to be a part of that if you can.
So spot on. So spot on. So spot on. Thank you so much, Chris. Chris, where can folks find you?
Yeah, so the biggest thing is go to afrobeats.org. I had put up a kind of like opt-in where you can start your at-home container garden journey. And there's a little checklist in there for anybody looking to get started on their journey. And you'll get an email from me every week, just giving you updates and all that. So just go there and I'll hook you up. Your boy will hook you up.
I love receiving your newsletters and tips and reading your stories, because it's like, it is a story every time. I'm like, yes, this is my entertainment for the day. I love this. I love it. So thanks so much. So Chris, I typically do a rapid fire. And I'm still going to do it, but I'm just going to ask it in a different way, because you've been on my show a few times, and it would be cheating, like, almost, because you just know. But anyway, what I'm going to start off with is asking, what vegetable, I know there's several, but what is a favorite veggie that you're growing right now?
Favorite veggie that I'm growing?
Or just one that you're growing right now?
Yeah, that's hard to say. I'm excited for the radishes that are coming up this year. This is going to be kind of like a full circle. It was like the first thing I grew when I started my journey, and I can't wait to see what's the difference between growing then and growing now. So I'm excited. Those are about to come up any week now.
Yum. I love radishes, man. I can eat them by themselves and in a salad.
The greens. Yeah.
Okay. What about fruit? Any fruit?
Fruit right now, papaya, because it's just it's kind of like the cleansing fruit. It's good for like washing your organs. And the seeds, you can actually eat the seeds, but you don't want to bite into them. But they're good for cleaning out like parasites and things like that. So I'm about the papaya.
Yum, 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 yum. Sweet. Oh, this is one that you haven't gotten before. Sweet, spicy, sour, salty, savory, or bitter?
That's a good question. I'm going to go savory. I like what it takes to build up like a savory flavor from plants. And I'm like obsessed with like building sauces from like old stocks and stuff like that. Ooh, so savory.
Ooh. Remember, I'm on this juice cleanse, Chris. Like, I love it. It's good. Like I'm telling you, vibrations are on fleek right now, but good grief. Okay. Chris, what is heavy on your playlist these days?
Good question. Let me see. On my playlist these days, I listen to a ton of R&B. I like Ari Lennox.
I love Ari. I had to. I love her.
On Sundays, I like to reminisce to when my mom would wake me up with like cleaning music. So there's like the playlist on Spotify of like those old school jams, like Cleaning Woman, like there's a whole bunch like Marvin Gaye. You know what I'm talking about, when they ready for you to clean up, you having a nice snooze,
music.
And then all of a sudden you hear Anita Baker over the speakers of your house. Yes. And that's when you know it's time to get to them chores. And so that's what I'm listening to these days.
When stereos were a thing, boy, do I remember. Wow. Well, Chris, thank you so much for just carving time out for me as always. And, I'm like one of your biggest fans of your work. And
same.
I appreciate you so much, because you have been instrumental to my work. And I just love that, like, we get to remember these moments, like COVID, and doing these interviews and just still continuing our mission. And it's just beautiful. And just to grow with you. And be able to bounce ideas off of you as well. So I just want to let folks know that Chris is, yes, he's an amazing podcaster. He's an amazing, I'll give you the title of chef, not to discredit anybody else, but whatever you want to call yourself, vegan cook, and does all these really great things, content king, but you just really are a great friend in this space and just an advocate. So I appreciate you. So thanks everyone for listening, and peace.
Peace.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. We are here live on Full Service Radio every Wednesday at 11 a.m., where you can catch today's episode on fullserviceradio.org, as well as iTunes and Spotify. Be sure to follow me at Food Talks in Color on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Are you an edible activist? Sure you are. Come join me on the show. I would love to feature you. Just shoot me a DM on the gram. Peace and blessings all. And remember, there is no culture without agriculture.